right, Awareness Daily. Collapsing duality financially. Creditor, consumer, debtor, achieving credit leverage. So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get away from the public? Because like I said, the public is what can handle the duality when everything's in trust in the private. And I even showed on the dollar bill, it'll show you the duality on the front of it. It'll show you public and private. And then if you look on the back on the private side, because you got to remember commercial instruments have a front and a back, a public and a private. The back is the private. On the private side of the bill, in the air, it shows the equity, God we trust. It shows everything there right there. It's like that's the key. So the public, everything's duality. It's winner loser. That's why they promote. What do they say? Give them bread and circuses, and they'll entertain themselves. Republican, Democrat, winner, loser, poor, rich. Girl, boy is the public, but really, there's a spiritual side that ties us all together. So collapsing the duality of financial, you'd want to understand the trust aspect of everything. They show debtor or creditor, servant master, type of system for everything, because that's what the public can handle is that duality. They don't want to go any deeper. They can't handle any deeper. They can barely handle a singularity, let alone duality. But everybody loves duality because they always want a savior. They always want an enemy. They want a devil, a savior, a positive, a negative. Nobody looks at the whole triangle and tries to go deeper and digging and stuff. So, you want to learn the responsibility of leveraging the credit the consumer has. So you're saying that the consumer, so you want to learn the responsibility of leveraging the credit the citizen has. So are you referring to like if you get a credit line, because when you're playing in the public arena, I've always learned simple tricks, like it's better to use someone else's money, right? So that's why people get really far into credit card debt. That's why people get really far into loaning and borrowing and never paying back and filing for bankruptcy, because they end up getting in so deep in the way the game is set up. That's why I started this journey, because I wanted to reduce the amount of public debt. And when I found out at the end of the day, the only thing you can do is convert private credits and back office banking into public debt again, it was just kind of like seemed like a fruitless path. But at the end of the day, you can play their game, and people end up getting too far in debt because there's not enough money in circulation to even pay the debt. That's how the whole house of cards ends up working. There's not even enough public debt to pay the public debt off, and it's basically it's built for failure. So general knowledge and education is what you're looking for. So in the public, like I said, it's all smoke and mirrors. So the U.S. citizen already has all these credits in the private when they're born, off the rip. They start to monetize the birth certificate. Well, not the birth certificate, but they start to monetize the birth of the entity that is coming in. It's the lowest on the totem pole is that citizen, which is an individual trust. It's classified by the IRS as an individual trust, and how we're down at the bottom of the rat race trying to scramble with all four liens on the U.S. citizen and trying to get ahead by working all 9 to 5s. And that's why I posted that video about teaching. In school, they're basically teaching you how to be an employee. They don't want to teach you anything else. They want to teach you how to get out and work and start running that rat race 9 to 5. And that's how we're all taught. We're not taught anything about the U.S. citizen. We're not taught about banking, IRS, tax code. We're not taught about corporations. We're not taught about capital interest, gains, none of that stuff. So that alone there shows you that the game is rigged to keep you down and in a box, and you have to self-explore and self-educate on your own in order to come out of that system. And it's hard to get out of that system because everything is expensive. The fiat currency system is set to inflate till death. And that is where we're at now. It's getting up to an inflation rate where stuff is so expensive. And I watched a video yesterday that it basically said that when money can't get you stuff, and that's happening now. When money can't get you what you need, and what I mean is trying to ask somebody to do something for money now is so much harder than it used to be. Like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, you could say, "Yo, I'll give you $50, man, if you run this errand," or "I'll give you $30," and they'll be like, "Yes, I'm on it." Now, they don't. It's like it won't even get stuff done. Money won't even get stuff done. Trying to pay people to handle stuff, and I deal with that all the time because I'm dealing with fixing up properties and stuff. And money just is not going as far as it normally used to. It's because the inflation and the debt and the ratio is going insane, and it's going to be inflated to a complete explosion. And that's eventually, I think, how it's a controlled demolition, aka 9, aka 1, aka 1. It's all controlled. It's all stuff. The people at the top of the pyramid, they end up planning 10 years in advance. So all this stuff has been in the works for a long time. So collapsing the duality takes a personal, private walk in order to understand that everything's in trust. And from there, and I try to tell people that, it's not easy going through the alien property custodian. It's not easy setting up trust. It's not easy learning all this stuff, but that's how it works. And when you appoint somebody as a trustee, they don't have to accept that position because there's no such thing as involuntary servitude. But what they can do is not accept it, but that does not mean that the trust is invalid. A trust cannot fail for lack of a trustee. So even though the trust doesn't have a trustee, it can't fail, and you can still win in court, especially if you know how to enforce your procedure and your stance. All right, so I hope I answered some of your questions, because the simplest way to collapse the duality of the financial system and the public is to just understand everything's in private. Cajun truth seekers. It's not the people's debt. No, it's not. It's corporations. Since 1933, everything's been flipped into corporations and corporate interest, and that's why on The Wizard of Oz, everything went black and white on that video or that movie. It's because everything twisted upside down. Before 1933, everybody could hold true title to property. After 1933, in the public, U.S. citizens can't hold assets in the public because the public is bankrupt. And you got to look at it like a fractal. Just like we are fractals of the Creator, the U.S. citizen is a fractal of the U.S. Corporation. It's like a miniature franchise extension of that bankrupt entity. But even though the U.S. citizen is very, very, very low on the totem pole, it actually has a lot of assets. And when a U.S. citizen files for bankruptcy, it's actually fraudulent because the U.S. citizen has plenty of credits in the Social Security on the private side through the bonds. And so it's all like, it's kind of a fraudulent game, but that's how the legal system works. I dealt with that recently. I'm taking tenants to court, and it was a very unique situation where I can represent, and I didn't know this at the time, even how learned I am. I'm an agent for the owners of the property that I was taking tenants to court over because they caused $14,000 worth of damage and walked away. And I represented them, and then I didn't even know this until I couldn't believe they showed up to fight. They showed up to battle, and I have mountains of evidence against them. And I said I'm going to have to continue it because I got to print out all these text messages. I was trying to cut them a deal by settling for a lot less than they owed. Then I talked to an attorney, and I didn't even know this. This is why sometimes attorneys are great. An attorney said I can't actually legally represent a commercial real estate without having a bar license, which I don't need. And what's funny, I knew at the time if I would have tried the court case, had it finished without them showing up, I would have gotten the judgment in my name, even though legally I couldn't represent that entity. I still would have gotten a judgment in my favor and have been done, But then I brought an attorney, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't do this, that, and other." So it's just the legal system is so funny because it doesn't matter what the truth is, Cajun truth seekers, we the people are all trust fund babies. Yes, we are. The game is definitely rigged. Absolutely, it's rigged. I just sent the straw man's taxes. I actually didn't do as bad as I thought I would this year. I sent the straw man's taxes out just now, and I was laughing with the postal guy. He's like, "Is there anything fragile or harmful in this envelope?" I'm like, "Just the IRS's name." But the IRS is really a revenue service. And I think it was the Flexner report. I think that's what it was, Flexner report. That basically proved that none of the money, no, that's not it. Landmark report, that's a medical thing. I don't remember what report it was on the taxes that said that basically nothing, not one dime goes to what everybody thinks it does, which is running the government. Pale Horseman, what can I do about an attorney putting my family property in trust, naming county officials as beneficiaries? So when a trust has been established, especially if it has been registered publicly to do business, you have to play by the rules of the trust. unless you can find a way to basically get a allodial title to that property and tell them to kick rocks. But the trust will still exist, and the property most likely has a lien on it. It's controlled by the state. That means the trust, if it was registered publicly and has a public EIN and all that, it's publicly registered by a state, which is controlled by DC. And you have to understand the trust indentures and the trust rules in order to play by the games and the rules of the trust. Pale Horseman beneficiaries. Yeah, I got what Benny is. You can actually sign as B, any like that. You can sign as TT. I think it was just trustee. You can sign as, it ain't TikTok. You can sign as BN, GRAN. I think it's Grantor. There's abbreviations for all those things. Awareness Daily. I'm going to schedule a conversation. I believe I am truly ready spiritually now. Absolutely, man. Oh, TTEE. That's right. That's how I used to sign it. I remember when I started my walk, I used to sign TTEE on everything. Now what I sign, like on my check, is I do BY, two colons. I'll put the U.S. citizen's name in all capital letters, and then underneath of it, I'll put trustor, which is basically essentially the same as a grantor, which is putting a property into a trust, because everything's in trust. And what's wild is when I started doing that, they actually started blacking out my signature. So when I pull it up online and look in a bank, they would black out my signature on all my checks. I couldn't actually see or witness what the signature was anymore, which I thought was kind of interesting that they would do that. I don't know if all y'all's are like that, but I think they started with me. I might have kicked that into play. Anonymike, or TTE or executor. Yep, Office of Executor. Yeah, so you want to be careful on the executor, and I made a video about that on misinformation, because it sounds really great being the executor of the U.S. citizen, but you can get in trouble real quick if you do stuff in the public, on the public record, saying that the U.S. citizen is no longer going to be engaged in any public activities, because if you put on the record that it is dead, even though a trust is dead, I mean, in theory, three people can give it life, but even though the U.S. citizen, the individual trust, is a dead corporation, that's what they can interface with. The public needs a corporation to interface with. So that's what you use to interface with them. But when you put on the record that it is dead and you're the executor, you're basically saying that it can no longer engage in any more public contracts unless the will has been expressed to do certain things. And you have to abide by the controllers of the U.S. citizens game if you're going to be engaged in that kind of stuff. The U.S. citizens controllers say you can do certain things, like you can donate $13,000 a year of the U.S. citizens' income, quote unquote, to other charitable entities and stuff like that without, it's a tax write-off. My grandfather, before he died, there was generational skipping taxes that were like insane. They wanted to take 90% of anything. So basically how it works, the U.S. and I tried to tell my grandfather, like, I know so many ways around all this stuff, like, but I don't have a bar license. I don't have I'm not an attorney, so nobody will listen to me ever about any of this stuff except for y'all. Y'all listen to me, but hey, we're all crazy together. So, Cajun Truth Seeker, what do you know about negotiable instruments? I have one in my possession for $109,000. Has it been signed on the back? So it's not a promissory note. You're talking about a negotiable instrument. So negotiable instruments, there's rules and regulations for all of that stuff when you're dealing in the Uniform Commercial Code, and it depends on what you're trying to do, because U.S. citizens or the authorized representative for the U.S. citizen is not allowed to do certain things. So it's up to you what you do with that information. But I can tell you, I have seen a lot of people get in trouble by trying to do and engage in things that they're not allowed or authorized to do, because we're authorized to use the state's property in a lot of different ways. All right, so thanks for the follow, Pale Horse. Okay, I had a check come to my residence that had me placing a lien on my own property, offering me $100K. Hold up, Pale Horse. I had a check come to my residence that had me. You talking about your U.S. citizen? When you say me, what are you talking about? You talking about the authorized representative? Did you have a bank do some stuff? Are you talking about leaning up? Are you the one with the truck? No, you're home. Did you refinance your house? What's going on? Anonymike, thought you have liability as executor. No, so an executor, depending on what the will is expressed, is basically delegating the deeds and actions that the executor is allowed to take. Okay, so if you're the executor for an entity, which, quote unquote, we kind of are, because the U.S. citizen cannot do anything. A corporation can't do anything without a human, right? But what's funny is the public can't interface with humans. It has to have another corporation. We're all the authorized representative of all these corporations. We're the ones that make everything move. We are the flowing of energy. We're the ones where everything comes from. We're the source. Okay, so when you're an executor, you have all the authority of that dead entity. You can do whatever. However, if it's outside of the controller of the U.S. citizens guidelines, like, quote unquote, like you say the entity is dead on public record, like in a court case, and then you start going and getting new bank loans and getting car loans or whatever, you're committing commercial crimes, because unless you have an express will that states that you're allowed to do such, which is within the state's guidelines that control that U.S. citizen, then you're actually committing crimes. So you got to be careful when you take the executive process. It is a very powerful way to operate, okay? But once you do that, there's a lot of things that the U.S. citizen can't engage in anymore, and us as the authorized representative are allowed to engage in all kinds of contracts in different ways for the U.S. citizen. Chelsea, thank you so much for the heart. Thank you so much for the... Is that a bra? Team... Well, it says BRA. Team Bracelet. Oh, all I saw was a bra, and I'm like, sweet, I'm getting bras thrown at me. That's what's up. All right, where are we at? Is W4T tax form good? Is that trust? W4, hold on, W4T form. If that's what I think it is for unemployment, use to provide information to employers so they can determine how much withhold. I don't see a W4T. I'm trying to see if it'll pop up so I can. I'm wondering, W4T form. I don't see it popping up. I'm trying to Google it right now. Employees withholding certificate, FamGarden. It's in. I like FamGarden. Voluntary withholding agreement, termination or withdrawal from W4 agreement. Yeah, you can do that. And I tell everybody about this when it comes to W4s and it comes to withholding. You got to be very careful when you're working for a for-profit system in a public federal zone. Okay, because how it's all set up is the controllers of the Federal Reserve say if you're going to be engaged in for-profit, there's a tax liability if you're in a federal zone. Okay, and typically, as I said, the U.S. citizen is the one that has to interface with the public, so the U.S. citizen is the one that engages in the contract with the employer. The employer is typically a federally registered, controlled entity that has to abide by general accounting practices in a federal zone. And when you're U.S. citizen, the individual trusts, contracts, and engages in that manner. There are certain rules to the way you set up. You can do a WT. You could have nothing withdrawn, but because the employer of who you're working for is federally bound by GAAP, they have to report all of the money that they're either donating or paying to a U.S. citizen or another corporation, another entity. And how double entry bookkeeping works is everything must be balanced and in harmony. And when the employer reports that to the IRS, who is a revenue service, they just revenue the money to the creditors and other things. When they report that money and then you don't report it or something, they're going to come after you. They're going to wonder why, if you're engaged in for-profit in a federal zone, why you're not paying tax liability, because they're trying to prevent an insidious system from taking over the world, which is for profit. Because it basically is. Everything's about corporate interests. All right, so let me back up. So the WT4, yeah, you can contract that way and withdraw. You can do a W4 BEN, but when you start working for the larger corporations and they're under the microscope of federal contracts and stuff like that, you got to be careful. But you can contract any way you want. And the U.S. citizen does not have to be a for-profit corporation. It could be engaged in receiving donations. It could be engaged in, all kinds of not-for-profit stuff. It's up to you how you contract. All right, so here we go. I got to get back to some of these questions. Hey, what's up, Black Swan? How you doing? Chelsea, thanks for saying hi. Appreciate it. Cajun, checks are negotiable instrument. They are. That's why they blacked out your name. Yeah, because I made it. I put it in trust. Well, I put on the public side, the creditor side, because I think the signature of a creditor goes on the right. And as a creditor, you can sign on the right. And there's a way to get back, I think, 60% of every check that you've ever written because you're the original issuer on account, but you're dealing in private asset funds when you do that. And I have audio on that stuff in my class folder under Commerce, BA. I think it's BA, but there's a lot of audio. I mean, that's the stuff I listened to for years, and that's how I got to where I'm at. Not a mic. Yup. None will listen. Kind of scary. Yeah, believe it. Tammy Allen, 392. Didn't the Supreme Court just say bar exam or license is not required? Yes, I've actually seen that you don't. Well, I don't know about if what you're talking about is trying to practice law, or and that's what's funny is a lot of attorneys will say at law. They're not in it. They're near it. They're at law. It's attorney at law or an esquire at law. But you don't have to pass the bar exam in order, I think, to become an attorney in certain places. I think 40% of all the people that take bar exams fail, and then somehow some of them still get able to practice. So, yeah, we are all crazy together. Users 366912248. Dirk Diggler, what up? 886W4T. Yeah, I checked it out. It's voluntary termination. So, and I have seen that before. You can withdraw your voluntary withholding. You're classifying your employer as a withholding agent. But even if they don't withhold, like I said, they will report to the IRS funds and fees that go out. And what you can do is you can 1099 as a foreigner. And depending on how you contract with the employer and whether or not you're in a federal zone, like if they're compensating you or if they are donating to you or whatever, like you don't have to pay taxes on it. It depends on what you're doing. Yep. Now listen, didn't the Supreme Court? All right, we're all crazy. WT, what's up? How you doing, Black Swan? I think I already said hi. Thanks for the follow, Utopia Occasion. They are literally stealing credits out of our trust. Yeah, that's how the whole system works in the private, Cajun. It is. And then the public, they show us the debtor-creditor illusion, and we all fall for that stuff because we're not taught any of the rules of any of the games that we're engaged in constantly. Pale Horse, it was in the name of a vendor, my ex's name, and it had a hidden message within that treasury check? Yeah, man, that sounds kind of wild. You can DM me, and we can talk on the private if you want to message me, and we'll talk a little more about that because that sounds like something that we'd have to spend some time. I'd have to get some more details about it. Don't take it. Ha ha ha, Chelsea. Black Swan, preach it, bro. People are going to get in trouble for lack of comprehension. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's how we all fall on the sword because we're very ignorant in the games that we're trying to engage in constantly. And I feel so bad. I literally made that disclaimer video the other day because of, I deal with people all the time that want the easy button and they're not willing to put in any work. Like I'll give simple assignments like read Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook. You want to learn about GGT process? You want to learn about collapsing trust? You want to learn about a grantee position? Read Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook. And if you want some more, Gilbert's Law, Treatise on Trust, or something. I can't remember it's treaties, but there's plenty of stuff to learn if that's a subject you want to learn. There's no one easy button for all, and that's where everybody gets deceived. Black Swan is they end up paying somebody that's like, I have all the answers for you. I'll do all the paperwork for you. And people come to me thinking that that's what I'm going to do for free. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do all your paperwork. I'll handle everything for you. And it's like, no, that's not how I operate. I'm going to help you on a case-by-case basis, point you in the right direction, and guide you. I'm not going to hold your hand because if I did all the paperwork for you, yeah, I could do it. I'd spend all my time all day helping giving people paperwork. But as soon as you hand that to a judge and he says 3 words and throws you in jail, he's going to wipe his rear end with all the paperwork that I did, even though it was perfect. And it's frivolous. It's completely fruitless because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to stand on anything. And, that's how it is. That's how it works. Pale Horse had a forensic evidence analysis did on the check from the Treasury. Was it a fake check? That sounds kind of wild. Yeah, because when you started mentioning that they wanted you to put a lien on your house, unless you're trying to contract with somebody that's putting a remortgage or a second mortgage or something on there, I don't understand that. You stop job from taking taxes. Yeah, there's different ways to operate outside of the for-profit system and tax system. There's all kinds of ways. I have plenty of videos on all this stuff. It's not that hard. It just, you have to understand simple rules and simple foundations. That's why I love building on. That's why I created the foundations list right here with the nature, spirit, and commerce, with the water, with the water, admiralty, with the equity, and with the common law. I'm laying these foundations that you can build upon. It's so simple. And once you start understanding simple things like, if you work for profit in a federal zone, there's a tax liability. You can control what you create. Did you create the Federal Reserve? No. Did you create the Federal Reserve note? No. Did you create the U.S. citizen? No. So who created it? Who created it controls it. Guess what? You're a sovereign. You have the unlimited ability to contract, and you can create anything you want. You can create trust. You can create entities. You can create entities as powerful as the municipal government. You can create your own currency. You have the unlimited ability. You can shape your reality with your contracts. And it's up to you as the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen if you even want to use that entity or not. It's up to you. All right, so Pale Horse, someone was acting as me. Oh, yeah, so that can happen very simply if you sign something and give somebody a power of attorney. If you're saying as me, I think you mean the U.S. citizen, not necessarily the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen. But yeah, we do that all the time. Even in car loans, they'll get you to sign little things that say that you give somebody power of attorney to shop around and do different things. Joey, hey, what's up? Pale Horse, it had my name out there on an offshore federal grant writing foundation with 10 million. Hey, that sounds kind of cool. So you sound like a friend that I want to know if you got 10 million floating in an offshore account with some grant money. No, I'm just messing. Yeah, maybe we can DM on the side, buddy, if you want to talk to me about some of that stuff. It sounds like you're involved in some wild stuff, and I can help. All right, so thanks for the share of the live. Thanks for the follow, Water Bearer. Ron, thanks for the follow. Smoke Now. How can I make them take my negotiable instrument, put the purchase order? Well, first of all, that's what I was saying. The U.S. citizen is not typically authorized to do certain things with negotiable instruments. For instance, you're not allowed to monetize a negotiable instrument, and you got to be very careful. That's why banking agents are used to convert stuff like that. If you know a bank buddy, you could talk about all this stuff, like back office banking, how to convert digital private credits into public debt and stuff like that. But the U.S. citizen is not. For instance, when you say UCC, you talking about like doing a UCC lien? Are you trying to do, because a UCC, if you're talking about UCC 1, that is a notice of a security interest that is being public noticed. And the UCC is private copywritten code also, even though all of the corporations on earth use that as like basically a baseline for international commercial trade. It is private copywritten. I always put a box around a UCC code if I ever use it. Joshua Paul, would you recommend reading The Law of Nations? I've never read it, so I couldn't recommend it. It might be good. Might be a good book. Black Swan, I feel so bad as well. It takes so much time to actually know what's going on and stand on it. Yes, it does. And a lot of us, we get just this tiny bit of information. I've done it. And we start running. It sounds good. It's so great. And that's why I made my misinformation videos, because a lot of this stuff is founded on half-truths, and it sounds great. But when you build the foundations or you lay the foundations that you can build on, it can't be shaken. That's why I test everything. I test people when they come at me. I'm open always. I try my best to take a neutral position and not go towards the left or the right, to always be able to receive opposing information, because I used to think all kinds of ways. I thought the secured party creditor process was the bomb. I thought it was the path, it was the way. But it's garbage, And I even took that position. I was preaching, I was talking about it. I was so proud to pay that $1,000 for that course, that easy button. This guy's going to teach me everything over a course, 15 weeks, whatever. And I learned a lot from it, but it's garbage. So anyway. Yeah, it makes me feel bad too, but that's why I try to reach people on a case-by-case basis, and that's all we can do is just come from love and always try to offer a safe space for somebody if they want to be taught or want to be open, because as Plato's cave, or I think it's the allegory of Plato's cave, talks about, it hurts their eyes when they start coming to the light out of the cave, It's hard for them, that's why you got to little baby steps. LOL, Pale Horse, Chelsea. It's information like this is why the government wants to shut down the TikTok. Well, I've been my last two videos. My last video was talking about how TikTok is throttle. They just don't want me to go out. Like my stuff is just not moving. I'm putting stuff out that can change the world. It can change entire countries and civilizations, and and it just goes nowhere. They on my lives they put age restriction or I put out a video and they'll. My last video, not my last one. My last video was joking. The video before that, my last video, they claimed that it was as dull as a QR code, and that's a community violation, because my video was as dull as a QR code, and I was laying down some hammers, first of all, I said it was unoriginal or dull like a QR code. I made it all up. I made up the whole thing, and it was freaking shared like crazy. People were liking it, loving it, commenting on it, and it's just like, it's all TikTok is throttling me down bad. It's throttling bad. It sucks. You don't need a signature for a contract, Cajun. And 3 is not a bond. Now, through 2 or more witnesses may everything be established, but contracts actually originate spiritually, and then they can. Everybody thinks that contracts is a piece of paper, but that's actually the memorialization of what transpired between sovereigns or between corporations. How contracts work is they can start verbally, viva voce, or indelibly in writing, and a contract is usually a memorialization of what transpired verbally, okay? And that's why you can come up with terms and agreements. Like right now, y'all are contracting with me by coming on here and writing stuff, and I can choose whether or not to even talk about it. We can create trust all the time. Like I can say I'm coming back later. Information is basically valuable. And I could pay charge a lot of money for the stuff that I do, but I don't. I just give it all for free all day long. But I don't. I asked somebody a long time ago about that. The 2 signatures is a contract, 3 is a bond, and I asked them where that's written, because I've never seen it. I've never heard it, other than this is the second time ever, and nobody could ever show me where that supposedly is a rule. Nobody. Hell, worse. The attorney is acting judge too, and he took my certificate of live birth when I was young. Wow, dude, that sounds like you're in some weird Shawshank crazy Twilight town, buddy. We don't know what's going on with you. I'd like to chat though. If you sounds like you might need some help. Sean Leach, what do you think about the magic money mechanics? I don't know about magic money, but I know modern money. Maybe you meant modern money mechanics. Modern Money Mechanics is one of the books that I have on my website, and the Affidavit of Walker F. Todd, I also promote that. I think that people should understand that. Tammy Allen, is there a right way to make a bill of exchange between public and private? So I've actually watched a lot of people go to jail for making bills of exchange, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Me and Black Swan, we're talking about seeing how many people get in trouble because they learn a little bit of information they try to run with it. The U.S. citizen is not authorized to make bills of exchange, not international or local. Now, you can use an agent, you can use a trustee, you can use a broker, you can use certain people that are authorized when you're dealing in the monetary game in the public. You have to learn about the Federal Reserve, you have to learn about the Federal Reserve System, you have to learn about banking, you have to learn about private and public banking if you're going to be engaged in that kind of stuff. Everybody will read a UCC code and they'll be like, oh, all I got to do is sign this on a bill of exchange and it's monetized. It's like, yeah, you're going to jail. And I've watched a lot of people do it. I've been invited to chat rooms with people where they're like, oh, Charles, we love you, man. You're the best. Come on in. Let's just start. And they start talking about bills of exchange. They start talking about negotiable instruments. They start talking about UCC. And I'm like, guys, I'm leaving. They're like, what's going on? I'm like, I am not even going to touch. I don't want to even be near this stuff because I've watched so many people go to jail. And they're like, oh, no, we'll stop, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing I know, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they're like, yeah, the federal government's coming after me because I sent this bill of exchange or this negotiable instrument or this thing to set off. And it's like, that's not how you can make your own contracts. You can contract however you want. You can set up basically through a private administrative procedure to get somebody into a contract. You're able to do that. You're able to change the terms and conditions of a contract by getting somebody in a private administrative procedure. You can do that. You can do a trust. You can do grantee acceptance. You can do all kinds of things. But when it comes to dealing in, first of all, the U.S. is a corporation for all things that deal in banking. Okay, so you want to start dealing with the federal government, start trying to mess with the banking system. Okay, start trying to mess with certain things that you're not authorized to do, and the federal government is going to come down on you real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So you got to be careful when you're messing with that stuff. Cletus Snow, subrogation in court. I don't usually promote that. I have videos on Sovereign in Court, which is actually, as soon as I made my first Sovereign in Court video, TikTok removed my ability to be able to see who views my profile. So any of y'all can come on my profile all day long, and I can't tell if you've viewed my profile or not. But subrogation in court, that's just not one of the paths that I talk about or promote. I have a lot of different suggestions. There is 78 billion ways to handle a court case, so that is one of them, but it's just not one that I talk about. Emer113, they're removing all pages with this kind of oh yeah, absolutely. And I heard about somebody that said that it's best to have the solid books for things because they can't remove pages and words, and I've had people say that they have the actual physical book and they see where the digital copy online has words removed or changed, and it's like, that's why it's great to have that solid physical book. Chelsea, LOL, Black Swan, the way I see it is if I can't prove it with admissible evidence, it's not a usable strategy. Absolutely, my man. That's a good foundation to base things off of. I agree with you 100%. But I tell you, there's times when I will, what did Tommy Boy say? You can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a bull's rear end, or you can take the butcher's word for it. So that works for some things, right? Like, I trust that my chair is going to hold me when I sit in it. I'm not going to check every bolt on it every single time. So you got to pick your battles. But yes, absolutely, that is a good foundation to base things off of, 100%. Heart-free Q. You have to admit the wording is kind of funny. For what? I don't know what you're talking about, Heart-free Q. Did you say something earlier? All right, so, I just found you, so I'm excited to hear your message. Oh, thanks for coming in. Hippie Lit Man, thanks for the follow. Sean Leach, contracts are maritime, or however you spell it. Oh, maritime. Yeah, there's contracts. Common law is one of the ways. You got land, air, and water. Equity is the highest form of law. You've got international water, commercial, admiralty. You got common law of the land, and depends on what venue of which jurisdiction. You can even create your own jurisdiction and create your own law. You can create your own anything. As a sovereign, as a king or queen, you can do all that. It's up to you too. But maritime is, a lot of it has been introduced and indoctrinated onto the land because that is an international, very powerful way of exchanging and doing contracts. But it's not everywhere. It's not like all inclusive. Like maritime is contracts. That's it. That's not how it works. Recycle sign. I think the algorithm responds to agents who report. Yeah, I had an agent report on it, and I was so mad. It just, he reported on I helped him for a long time. I told him about my traveling versus driving video. He reported it to TikTok, community violation, and then that video had 80,000 views. It had 8,000 likes, and I was stoked. That was back before I started getting throttled down, and it just looked terrible on my page when it said community guidelines violation. And the only thing you can do is delete it. You can't archive it. You can't change anything. I tried to appeal it. They wouldn't accept it. So I just deleted it because it looked terrible. And when I deleted it, I lost 8,000 likes. And it is so, now for me to get 8,000 likes, I probably have to make 8,000 videos because they are throttling me down so hard that it's just crazy. But anyway, yeah, I've been reported. I've been shadow banned. I've been blackballed. I've like I said, I've got crazy things like they removed my ability to see who can come onto my profile on TikTok. My last video, they said that my video was as exciting as a QR code. It's just, I don't know what's going on. Thanks for the follows. Any occasion. How do you think they get in your trust? Oh, because they're authorized to do certain things on the private. Everything's in trust. They call it the Cesta K Vi trust, but in the IMF in the background, banking and stuff, that's how stuff works for municipal governments and stuff. They put together bonds. They go through the DTC. That's how they create funds to build roads and hospitals and houses, and you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing with your bond if you want to, one of your bonds out of your 10. And I talked to somebody in Canada, And we were so in aligned with everything. Like almost everything operates the same way in Canada that it does here. I don't know all the codes and statutes in Canada law, but I do know all of the, well, most of them in the U.S. situations, and it's like everything is the exact same. And I'm assuming that it is everywhere, because everywhere that deals with birth certificates and deals with the Federal Reserve as the reserve currency has to operate pretty much the same way. The UCC is all over the place in all the courtrooms and everywhere. It's like it's just basically all similar. Sean, no, it's about debt cancellation. What did you say earlier? Contracts. Oh, for debt cancellation, no, you don't have to have maritime for debt cancellation. It's not like that's an all-inclusive thing. Oh, except, so A4V, I have a video on A4V, Sean, if you want to look that up. I basically explain how it is a private administrative procedure, but it's lacking very much. Like, trusts are a much better way. And one of my great mentors, and when I say great, this guy had the IRS said that he's not allowed to use their service anymore, ever, for anything. So that's how great he is. Like, imagine getting that letter in the mail. That would be something phenomenal. Heart Free, what is the deal about getting the EIN, revocable living trust? Yeah, so that's old school technology. However, you can contract however you want, creating a living trust. That is one of the things that we're authorized to do for the U.S. citizen as a representative for it. You can express a will for it. You can create a living trust for it. You can have it recorded locally if you want. You know, it's up to you. You know, that's one of the ways to contract. I like not dealing with the state, okay? I like governing myself. I like contracting outside of the state's rules and guidelines and all that stuff, because it's just, if you're going to allow them to govern all your affairs for you, it's tough, okay? To basically be prepared to deal with crazy nightmares and attorneys, and you know, I'd rather govern myself, create my own contracts, create my own law, create my own titles, create my own entities, create, you know, do all that stuff myself. Now I will admit, honestly, using an attorney sometimes is very beneficial. I think you get 400% more on average for an auto loan accident if you don't know stuff like I do, which is how you can do your own private administrative procedure. You create, you know, you get all kinds of funds that way. But if you're not well learned, you don't understand like postal regulations and rules and international commercial law, and you're trying to do your own private administrative process from the Republic, all that stuff, you can use an attorney and you'll get 400% more on average than if you try to handle the lawsuit yourself. All right, so how to use a remittance coupon. Yeah, so remittance, that's not something I teach either. That's old school technology when you're talking about doing a remittance. That's one of the very first things that I ran into dealing with the IRS. Is trying to do remittances. I have a video on how to discharge debt publicly, how to discharge debt privately, GGT, trust. I suggest everybody watching my playlist, guys. This live will be on YouTube. The audio will be in my Telegram group. If I have a website with like all kinds of information, all this stuff is free. Feel free to browse around. I don't charge for anything. I give consultations. You can DM me. You can email me. All that stuff. Sean, yep, and that too. Revocable living trust. Yeah, I got what you're talking about. EIN for it. Like you can create any entity that you want, and you can get an EIN for it if you want to do public banking. That's fine. You can create an entity that creates another entity that's a trustee for a holding company that is, you know, something for an LLC. You can do business like that however you want. It's up to you. And a lot of people don't comprehend this, but you're taxed on how you do business, not who you are. It doesn't matter what you are, what you represent, what you're engaged in. Clearly, aka all the trafficking and stuff that goes on. But the U.S. can't and the state can't involve themselves in contracts. So it gets tricky when you're doing certain things. You're a good dude, man. I love your stuff. Thank you, Sean. Much appreciated. Pale Horse, how do I DM you? I think you can click my little logo and then just hit message me, I believe. That's how you can DM me. Or you can go on my website, which is on my profile page. You can it has an email up there too. You know, you can contact me through my website. You can DM me on TikTok, or you can email me. All that stuff's right there. Cletus Snow, doing proof of life claim with bill of complaint competency hearing set. Okay, what are you trying to accomplish with that? You know, because I'll be honest with you, 101 for a lawyer, a judge knows that you're not the U.S. citizen, okay? But in the public, he swore an oath to uphold the public's bankrupt, crazy system. If you go in there and start trying to teach, hey, I'm the living man, hey, I'm the sovereign guy, hey, I'm a human, hey, I'm not, it's like, the judge knows that. That's 101 for him, okay? But he also knows that that stuff will harm the public if you're trying to teach. That's too much assets. You'll disrupt stuff. The system is set in place for a reason, and it's not perfect. Nothing is, but it's kind of harmonious when you see things on a big scale. All right, this is proof of life. Zenny Vowels. So, what would be your first steps to becoming sovereign? So I would suggest watching my playlist on my profile, Zenny, because we're already sovereign, and basically one of the paths that you can take as a sovereign, should you choose, is you can express a declaration of your status, and you can mail it out to people and say, this is my records. If yours say something different, let me know. And if not, then it's going to stand as a fact, and then that will give you standing. Then you'll have status and standing. But I have videos on all this stuff. I have playlists that can help re-educate you. It's called Foundation, Nature, Spirit, and Commerce. And I also have a website with auxiliary information to help along your path as well. But you can also DM me, and I give lawful guidance. Don't give legal advice. I give lawful guidance. Heartfree Q639. They deleted the person I was getting info from, and he has so many imposters. Wow. I've had people tell me that there was somebody using my likeness and trying to DM them and stuff like that. Heartfree Q. So the birth certificate trust straw man is real. Yeah, absolutely. I have videos on all this stuff. The birth certificate is 10 things. It's like a bill of lading. It is a daggone. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, it's like 10 things. It's a certificate of good standing. It's a certificate of origin, basically where the corporation was created. But yeah, it's all legit. Watch my playlist. It'll blow your mind. Yeah, Pale Horse Cajun. So hold up. They can commit fraud by stealing your credits, but they need one. So they don't typically steal it. Usually what they do is they get our permission in the public, and then they kind of trick us. But it is somewhat fraudulent, but we agree to all the terms and conditions, and we sign up and give away all day long by agreeing to be called the creditor and debtor. And part of the problem is that we're not taught all the rules to the games. Like, we can contract however we want, and we basically nod and agree and sign and do all kinds of things wrong because, well, not wrong, it's just the way that we've been taught and brought up. We just don't know how to contract. You can change the terms and conditions. You can start a private administrative procedure and change the terms of a promissory note through a bank. You can change the terms and conditions to a credit card loan. You can change the terms and conditions to anything by doing a private administrative procedure on someone. But yeah, we're not taught all kinds of things, like whoever signs the back of a promissory note is the one who's responsible for the debt obligation on the instrument. You're not taught that your signature is what creates the asset on the books on the private, and then in the public they turn around and call you a debtor, and you agree to it. You sign and agree that that's the definition that you are, and that they loan you money. It's all wording. And that's how the legal system works. Is it doesn't matter what the truth is; it matters about what you can prove. All right, so I have 27 messages. Hold on. Your social security, Cajun, your social security and signature in order for them to steal the credits. Yeah, you give up all that stuff. We hand it all over and allow them to monetize our signature and go and create it, and then we just agree, and then our performance agrees to the contracts and terms and conditions. James C., is there a way I can drive without DMV? Absolutely. I have a couple videos on traveling versus driving, and I think just one straight on traveling. I explain all that in my videos if you check it out. Pale Horse, I think a bunch of them are ready to retire and they need honest people to run the country. Maybe. I would love to see that happen, because actually I think the U.S. corporation is retiring pretty soon if I had to guess. Heartfree, then what? Then what? Oh, after watching my playlist, you can DM me if you need more help. 2 Owls Media. Charles, I'd love to chat with you after you're done live. I don't know if I'm gonna have time after the live, man, because I gotta spend time to convert the audio and the video on this, and then I've got a couple other things that I gotta wrap up before I leave my office for the week. But anyway, you can DM me. We can schedule a time. I should be free Saturday or Sunday. Knowledge, Pale Horse, Dell, public and private. Dell, do you have an ebook or anything? I personally don't have an ebook. I started writing a lot of it. Now I put it in some of my videos, but I don't actually have a book. I'd love to get on live with you. I tried to do lives with people, and it ends up just kind of getting... I can't help as many people one-on-one when I do that. Because then it's all about you. I'd just rather do a one-on-one consultation, a phone call. I remitted my phone bill. Did that work for you, Pale Horse? Thanks for the follow, Kylie. Jade, love the website. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It needs some work. I'm constantly updating all the information on it, but I appreciate it. I'm trying to, like I said, I got a lot going on between kids. I'm dating a beautiful girl. I just got back from out of the country. Got baby mama drama. Just a lot going on. I'm also managing 25 houses. A lot of great info. Correct, Dell. Follow Eddie. So, is this about state national? No, that's one of the paths that you could take. You could be a national. It's not a state national, but you say state because the sovereign republic state is what a national would owe allegiance to, and it's all by statute. It's all written. That's on the Secretary of Travel Government's website, Secretary of State's. When you look up certificate of non-citizen nationality, they'll explain everything on there. It's all written. So, Charles, how all this work for a naturalized person? So it's the same way as for a U.S. citizen when you've been naturalized. Pretty much everything's the same way because everything operates the same way out there in all the different bankrupt corporations called countries. Dell, authentication of BC, do we need to do that? If you're going through the DC or you're changing countries, yes, you need to authenticate your birth certificate. Eddie, sovereignship is the same as state national. No. You are sovereign and you can contract however you want, Eddie. It's up to you. You don't have to be a state national. That is a status that you could choose. You could choose to be the Grand Buddha of Allah. You could be, a monk from Tibet or what. You can choose your status however you want. We are already sovereign, yes, Jade. Can you cute sources? Cute sources? What do you mean, Angelina? Cute cut sources? What do you mean? Cite sources. Oh yeah, sure, absolutely, all the time. Which for I've been talking for 55 minutes straight. Which statement would you like a source from? Dell, we are the creditors. Yes. Well, our signatures created ever since 1933 during the bankruptcy. Congress authorized banking agents to monetize our signatures on promissory notes and a lot of other stuff. Banks are allowed to do a lot of different things. Ken James, thanks for the share. Eddie, I'm naturalized citizen born in a different country. How would this work for me? You're still sovereign. You can contract with your citizen however you want. I don't know if you know how familiar you are with how everything works, but the citizen is the IRS classifies it as an individual trust, and you can contract with it however you want, or you can create your own entity that you can do business with, your own trust. You create a sovereign trust. You can create a corporation sole. You can create an LLC. You can create however you want to do business. It's up to you. But I have playlists to help re-educate you guys, so if you want to watch playlists on my profile, it'll help. Silence is agreement, Jade. Absolutely. 100%. Thanks for the follow, Ken. Thanks for the share. DJ Streets. Pale Horse. See, my mom's from Germany, and in order to trade internationally, the attorney is either bona fide attorney in fact. Well, yeah, we need to talk on the side, buddy, because you got some stuff going on. Registered mail this friend. Yep, registers. That's a good way to do it. So it's certified. I like the return receipt. That is what I use for private administrative procedure. That way you have proof and confirmation that it has been received by the recipient, especially when it's a restrictive endorsement. You can use a third party. That's an exception to the hearsay rule. You can use a third party's public record whose duty it is to keep such records, and you can send that out. Cajun Truth Seekers. The reason they keep doing fraud is because nobody's calling them. Yeah, and if you call them out, you can harm them. Same thing like with our servants, quote unquote officers, and everybody whose public office and duty and obligation is to the public bankrupt system. If they step outside of their duties and obligations, or they act colorably, or they harm you, the sovereign, the authorized representative, you can hit them where it hurts. You can go after their bond, you can go after their insurance, you can go after their job, you can do all kinds of things. James, you're welcome. Andrew, just got a registration fix-it ticket. Okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can handle stuff like that, but you also have to understand that the car is registered to a state. That means they control the title to it. Jade, hail the Republic. Yes, Jade, all the time. Get it, girl. What is a fee schedule? Zenny, a fee schedule is if you decide that you can put it in a trust. You can say, you have trust as property, or you can set duties and obligations for if somebody impedes on like your travels or your obligations or your duties or whatever. A fee schedule is basically how much it's going to cost either if someone trespasses or harms or does something to you or what you own or your property. Now, when I say your property, I mean stuff that you control. Your car typically is not controlled by you because it's registered to a state and it's the state's property. And the beneficiary, who's the grantor, requests and requires taxes, tags, titles, seat belts, all these codes and statutes and all that stuff. So whenever you're dealing with property, and I have videos on all this, guys, watch all of my playlists. It'll help. If you're dealing with property that you don't hold true controlling title to, there's underlying duties and obligations that you have to understand, because you can control what you create. And when you register something to the state, they become the controlling party of interest. Angelina, the trust. Oh, you talking about Weiss's concise trustee, or are you talking about the individual trust called the U.S. citizen? I have a 101 where everything's written video, if that's what you're talking about. Chelsea, the U.S. governing body, left wing, right wing, are the same bird. Yep, that's the delusion of duality that they try to push on all of us all the time. Fessing around. Is this about claiming your legal fiction instead of state national? No, this is about everything, anything and everything. This is a free-for-all. I just come on here and try to help everybody on a case-by-case basis the best I can. Angelina, also, can you claim abandoned property, house, land? Yeah, you can, but if you don't have the land grant or patent, which you can find through the Bureau of Land Management, either the U.S. had to grant it or a king, you have to do a grantee acceptance on it. But first, you have to make sure there's no successors or heirs that are alive to that property. Then you can do a grantee acceptance on it and record it and take controlling title of it. But if you're dealing in the public, there's a whole different type of venue when you're trying to publicly acquire title, because then they're going to require you to register it and you got to pay taxes on it and all that other stuff. That's why I don't like dealing with the state, Recycle sign, we are source. Yes, expansion of goods and services can happen as a result of life and labor. Yes, I like it. Expansion of the money supply happens when we create warehouse receipts for our future productivity. Okay, that's one way to look at it. No need to thank you, no name. Okay, aka credit application. Ron Weiss, credit application becomes an underlying asset at the Federal Reserve, new FRN warehouse receipts. Yeah, it's like a whole different type of ball game. You start dealing with Federal Reserves. All right, no name. How do we control the title? So you can control what you create. If you create the title, then you're good. But whenever you're dealing with something that's free and outside, if it comes to a car, like something like a car, it can't be registered. You have to buy it with cash outright, take it, and don't let them record it or put a bank lien on it, because if you put a bank lien on it, then the title's going to be cloudy. You want a free and outside and clear title to a car. For kids, that's property, or like a cup mug or anything. Like I could put true title over this mug if I wanted to. Just create, I have a video on title. It explains everything. User 3317. Are we a non-citizen resident, or do we need to do something to claim a non-citizen? We as humans are outside of the entire system, and it took me a long time to realize that. A lot of studying. I tried to take the U.S. citizen out of their jurisdiction. I tried to dock it. I tried to put liens on it. I tried to take control of it, but you can't control what you didn't create. So if you're talking about you are a sovereign. You are a fractal of the Creator with the unlimited ability to contract, and you can shape your reality through your will and force and energy and vibrations and everything. So, if you want to start writing down what you are, it's like endless. It's unlimited. So that's what you are. And then from there, you can use entities to contract with other corporations however you want. Angelina, U.S. Citizens Trust, we are born with. Yeah, so I explain all that in my 101 video. It's I have a nice beard, and I'm wearing a blue shirt, and I can send you to you. I show you where everything's written, where citizens are persons, which are corporations. The IRS classifies the individual as a trust, which files a 1040, and if you create a statutory trust, it files a 1041. Okay, that's in my Commerce 3 video. So check out my Commerce 3 video and my 101. I wish I had a title page for that one, but it's not. It's just a blank. If you scroll through my videos, the only one without a title block is the one I'm talking about. All right. So no name. Thank you for teaching and keeping people informed. Yeah, absolutely. face fact, basic in canceling a contract. Yeah, it depends on how you want to cancel it. You can do a private administrative procedure on it. You can rescind your signature unless it's been more than 3 days. Then you have to change the contract terms or satisfy the terms and conditions that were created. If you're talking about a memorialized contract, you can contract by verbally talking. You don't have to use a piece of paper. Dell, but I thought we don't have to register our private automobile or need a driver. You don't. You don't have to. But if it's been liened, if it's been registered, it's not private. It's public. It's publicly. When you register something to the corporate state, it becomes collateral against the U.S. debt. So you got to be careful. Allodial title, Jade. Yes, absolutely. No name. Did I say something weird? How tough is it to access a strawman bonds? It's not easy, Eddie. You got to go through the DTC with one of your 10 Social Security bonds, and then you have to go through and learn back office banking and wizard transfer programs and all kinds of things. Like it's not an easy path. My car belongs to me. Yeah, you're the owner, but you're not the controller. No name, unfortunately. We all get tricked in the very beginning, and that's how it works. Jade, create entity to supersede the entity they created. Yeah, or you can just create an entity you can dock the U.S. citizen. You don't have to use it. As the authorized representative, you don't have to get involved in any contracts. You don't have to let it work or nothing. It's up to you. Ralphie, the gas company is threatening shut off. Did you not send them any Federal Reserve notes? You gotta either do that or figure out a different way to satisfy and get them in a contract. America, what about property taxes? Yeah, so it's their property, and the controllers of the property require all kinds of things. If you have true controlling title to the property, then it's not taxed. And if you don't believe that it's not your car or it's not your property, don't pay taxes on it, and the real controllers will show up to get their stuff. Thanks for the follow. Dell, is there a way to unregister if it's paid off? The best thing to do is to sell it and use it as a down payment for a new vehicle that's never been registered, or you can try to get a new VIN number, or you can try to create your own vehicle from scratch. Yeah, I know, Nanaim. It makes a lot of people angry, and that's why you got to be careful. People on this path do get angry. They do really quickly, and that's why a lot of law enforcement officers, they teach that sovereign citizens are enemies, because some of them do get angry. Every once in a while they will flip out because they get mad when they figure out how the whole system works. But when you get on a big scale picture and you understand that you are the sovereign and in control of your own destiny, and you can contract however you want, you can control things it's up to you. The sky's the limit. But you have to get out of the rat race of the low authorized representative for the U.S. citizen on the totem pole down here and look at things from the top of the equity chart of this pyramid. Ralphie, it's prepaid, and I don't want to double pay any longer. Yeah, well, you got to change the terms and conditions of the contract, Ralphie. It's up to you. You're the one that probably signed the promissory note and gave up and said you're a debtor and all that stuff. Are you talking about the gas? How are you double paying on the gas? Did your U.S. citizen pay for it already? America, can you get property sovereignly? Absolutely. No, don't feel helpless, no name. It's just we're all tricked, man. It just takes time and effort to learn how things really work, guys. All right, I've been on here for an hour, guys. I love you. I'm probably going to wrap up. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'm glad that I got to actually get a lot of traffic and help. You don't have to be as smart as me. You don't. It just takes time to learn. Just spend a little bit of time. Ignore me. Thanks for the heart. Much appreciated. All right, guys. I'm going to enjoy my Friday. Thank you all for coming on and supporting me. Your gifts will be used to help others. This live will be on YouTube. The audio will be on my Telegram group. My website is free. It has auxiliary information for all y'all to help your paths. Please watch my playlists on my on my profile page of TikTok to help re-educate you. It's Foundation Nature, Spirit, and Commerce. And other than that, love you guys, and I will see you next Friday. All right, bye.